for coming today. Originally, we were planning on today being an off-the-record conversation mostly with staff, because the context which brought us here today is we want to provide you a factual basis for reporting what happens on election day. We want to give you some background on that, but after further discussing this, it didn't seem like we could advance that cause of making sure that you had accurate information in a reportable way without this being on the record. And so we decided that I would do this, we would do it on the record. With one exception, and I will let you know this when we get to that point, that there is going to be a presentation that the staff will make that will be speculative in nature, but help provide some context to the way the information will be recorded on election night, and we'll talk, and I will clearly make that point known and the cutoff point clear when we get there. As I mentioned, I want to provide some context for what's going on, make sure you have all the facts, so that as you're reporting election results on election night, you can have the best possible information, and then all of you are reporting the same information, because you will have the facts, you will have what is accurate. I must also let you know that over the next few days, what is usually adequately staffed office is going to be a little overwhelmed. We will not be able to respond to questions probably as timely as you are used to getting them from us. And so everything that we have on here in this presentation, the backup documentation for it, on what the directives have been on everything from recounts to you name it, is on our website, so that you have a source there to do your own research and can make sure that you have the details that you need to do your jobs correctly. Let me start with some of the things that we've done to prepare for the election. For the first time ever, we did a statewide absentee ballot mailing that went out to absentee ballot application mailing. It went out to 6.9 million voters. And so everybody that we had voter applications on in a timely manner received an absentee ballot. We also created an online change of address system. 106,000 voters used this online change of address system. That means that that's 106,000 voters that otherwise, if they didn't use it, would have been voting a provisional ballot in this election, will not need to. We also spent $760,000 on poll worker training. One of the things that we did this year that has not traditionally been done is we not only invested in training new poll workers, we trained poll workers who had previously worked at the polls, just to make sure that they were aware of what the rules are, and we did the best job that we could in providing training for the people that will be working at the polls. Duplicate registrations on election day in 2008, there were 340,000 duplicate registrations that were on the rolls. As of the beginning of this week, excuse me, there were 1,400. And we work every single day to resolve those with the help of the local board of elections. So the voter rolls are in the best shape that they have been since we set up the statewide voter database, and it's been operating under the early voting system. In addition to what we've done to remove duplicate registrations, we've removed 160,000 deceased voters, working with Health and Human Services. In the BMV data, you've heard a little bit about this. Okay. Working with BMV, we took, in the last presidential election, we only had, in Ohio, 20% of the information we needed to validate a voter. Now we have 80% of the information now we have information on 80% of the voters in the state of Ohio that we need to completely have a full complete data background on them. So just another example of working with other agencies and with their help, how we've been able to improve the statewide voter database and to make sure that the integrity of the election system is as good as it possibly can be. We also did a mailing to 70,000 registered voters that had moved out of state, asking them to remove themselves from the voter rolls so that we can again take another step to clean up the rolls in Ohio. Those are some of the highlights of our preparations for the election. Absentee voting. Some of you have seen these numbers already. This is as of last Friday. We collect the data weekly, so we will have another round that we will collect this Friday. But as you can see, when it started out, there were a lot of applications sent out. So far, we've had 1.321 million sent out, and then you can see that narrowing you can see it start to narrow. The ballots are starting to come in, the requests are slowing, the rate in which they're being returned is picking up, and that is good news. We have, I can't put this in context for you, the data was not kept separately for mail and in-person voting in 2008, and so we can only provide you what we have in this election cycle. As you can see, the number 71.94% have been returned. We have numbers here on the absentee in-person votes, which happened at the local county board of elections or vote centers. And as you can see, that pace is picking up. We have 306,000 votes of the 1.25 million overall number of early votes cast. To put that in perspective, the overall number of mail and in-person absentee ballots that were cast in the last election was about 1.7 million. So that you have some context there between where we were in 2008 overall and 2012. Access to voting, as you're aware, 35 days. We started 750 hours to vote by mail, 246 hours to vote in person, and 13 hours on election day. And we have voting hours are uniform across all 88 counties for the first time since early voting started in Ohio, which I think is a welcome improvement to our system. You can see, if you look at Ohio compared to our surrounding states, we have a variety of options for voters in our state that do not exist in any of our border states. On election day, this is what we have going on across the state. 40,000 poll workers, 4,800 polling locations, 9,200 precincts. That gives you some context for what we will be trying to monitor and oversee on election day.